It's just you and me for now, man. It's yeah, it's a URL shortener because, you know, if you're not whatever premium or something on Twitch, Discord doesn't give you the nice URL, and you know that way I can just always. Hey, hello, yellow backpack boy. Hello. Yeah, man, Julian. Sorry, what are you, Dutch? Cut it. I suppose it's like. Anyway. I see. Well, I mean, you know, like if a lot of people watch and this becomes a saying, then maybe we get premium or whatever that's called on Twitch, and then we see. Yeah, I haven't figured out how that whole Discord stuff works yet. We will see. Yeah, that's cool, man, Julian. Maybe we can, maybe you can walk me through it, like, after the stream. I was, you know, my plan was just to see what happens and then keep going from that. Or maybe not, depending on whether I like it or not. Okay, so I'm just gonna mute my audio real quick. Hi, RV Kevin. Yeah, the video is hopefully going to be saved. I put it in VOD mode, as that's called on Twitch, and I hope it's saved. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the laughter. Glad to be back. Well, let's see. I don't know. Well, I'm glad. Yet we figured that out. I want Samu 8. Hey, ja moin, na? Andreas, alles fresh? Yo, everybody. Ja. Yeah. Alright, guys. Well, so, here we are, I suppose. I hope that you guys can hear me and see me and whatever, and let me know in the chat if that isn't the case. I am completely new to that streaming thing, and let's see how it goes. See if it's fun. The plan is a little bit to just generally talk about Spark. And hey, Julian, yes, thanks for the bit.ly. I already changed it. Oh, I did not change it here on the change it here also. Okay. Bit.ly. Yeah. All right. So if you want to join on Discord, put bit.ly/Spark Discord. Thanks to Julian. Yeah, headphones. Yeah. Hey, Bastian. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, the weird thing is that as I'm new to Spark, to Twitch, I probably don't know any of the names. So what I wanted to do, when I started, when I had that idea of streaming and doing Spark things, I wasn't sure which service to use, whether it's Discord or Twitch or Instagram Live, and I had that idea of just tuning in Instagram Live as well and see if people come over to Discord. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna put in my phone, just put an Instagram live feed, and so those people can watch that too. Hey guys, hey Tamaso, hey Jive. Yeah, so the thing is I'm retarded apparently and I can't figure out how to do Instagram Live, which is a pity, because I'm nearly a boomer generation, so I had it the other day. How do I find that? Maybe someone can help me here. Weird. Okay, that's good. Oh, yeah. White music's buffering. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I suppose. Okay, so on the Instagram app, I just have like the effect, the face filters, which is what we're here to talk about, I suppose. Click to your story, scroll to the left. Oh man, Julian, you're so helpful. It's crazy. Sorry. Go to the left. Oh, live. There it is. Okay, boom. Checking connection. You're now live. Very nice. Okay, I'm just gonna put it here so people on Instagram can see me as well. And yeah, I got it. That's some very thing. That's a great start, actually. Yeah, and guys, thanks for joining the Discord. Again, I still have to kind of figure out how that shit works, but we're gonna get there. So, all right, we're here to do a little bit of Sparky stuff and do some AR shit together, and maybe just do some tutorials and walk you guys through a couple of new features and just basically have fun. So, essentially, the idea here is that, and again, I kind of stumbled upon this whole. Let me just put on some music again. Stumbled upon this whole Twitch thing recently because of the quarantine and the virus and Rona and stuff like that. And I was watching music pages, music streamers, I mean. And I thought this is actually quite a fun thing to watch, quite a fun thing to do, and then I thought, pin the Discord link to your Instagram live. Fuck, how do I do that again? Julian, you're my guy, man. Big up for Julian. Anyway, so yeah, I was thinking, well, what can I stream? What can I do? And I thought, well, maybe we do a little bit of Spark stuff and talk a little bit about that. So why don't we just jump in and do exactly that? I prepared this streaming stuff here a little bit, and what you should be able to see now is my desktop, actually. And I already prepared a little bit of a scene here with some nice feature vertex displacement, a new thing in Spark that we want to have a look at. And tap and hold a message to pin it to your live. Oh yeah, whatever. Tap and hold. Okay, well, let me try that. Tap and hold a message to pin it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, tap and hold doesn't work for me, yeah. Well, anyway, I can figure that out later, I guess. Tap and hold like a chat message or what? I prepared a little, guys, on Instagram, you can go to twitch.tv/MarteSteinfort, like I said in the chat, and then you can watch the stream on Twitch, because we're gonna do a little bit of Spark AR tutorials, and if you want to learn how to do that stuff, then you're more than welcome to join over at twitch.tv/MarteSteinfort. And if I figure out how to pin a message, I might be able to. Pin comment, there you go. Okay, boom, there you go. Pinned comment, there you see the URL if you want to follow on Twitch. Yeah, Julian, thanks so much, I just figured it out. And yeah, join us on Twitch, because on Instagram now you're just seeing my stupid face. I don't know if you want to see much more of that, but if you want to see the good stuff, then come join us over at twitch.tv. Yeah, so guys, what you're seeing over Twitch is the nice, exciting. Oh, hi Noland in Discord. Hi people on Discord. Yeah, so many chat windows popping up all over the place. It's crazy. And Hunter Hustler, hi, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so basically for today we have three cool things we want to discuss. We want to talk about is the vertex displacement stuff, which we can look at. And then another thing that has been asked in the group on Facebook was promises. And basically, I looked into promises a little bit. I found this nice tutorial of sorts, like explanation here, which is I guess enlightened. I'm gonna post it in the chat real quick. It's essentially, so what's happening here is that with Spark version 85, there's a boom, yeah, exactly. Thanks, Noland. There's a new paradigm of how to make coding even more complicated than it already was before. Yeah, let me just put my stupid face on again. All right. Let me just switch that thing off so you can see me. Yeah, and now it gets even more complicated. So yeah, you have a new way basically to instantiate things in your script, and it's called promises. And I have no idea what that is. So I'm like, what the fuck? And so basically, it's probably not me today explaining that. Hi Kakti on Discord, welcome. And yeah, it increased the lines of code. I don't know what's going on with that. To me, it seems like so first of all, Spark started with scripting before there was patches, and that was totally fine. JavaScript basically is pretty straight up, but they had this weird reactive environment, which and anyway, for me, as I'm not like a developer first, but a designer first, was like super weird to get into, and definitely was kind of a weird thing to do. But you know, so it is what it is. And then came patches, and I think like patches for me essentially are a super fun way to interact with the tool, and are really cool. And that's basically what I'm working with most of the time, and I'm not doing a lot of scripting, and so now it feels like this promises stuff. To me, it feels like this is something which is maybe useful if you have like a huge platform or something, and then it makes scripting easier. But for something like an effect, I don't know whether it's too useful, to be honest, and it does feel like it just makes things more complicated. So basically, the whole idea is it's about asynchronous loading of things. So basically, if you have a website and whatever other thing chooses JavaScript, and you want to load an asset, and then you know, you can use promises, which essentially gives you like a callback saying, hey, this asset was loaded. But in the case of an AI effect, anyway, the way it is implemented right now, I don't know whether it makes too much sense, because as far as I understand, the whole package gets downloaded on your phone, and then it gets executed inside of the Facebook app or Instagram. So that means everything is there all the time anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Noland is saying that might be future-proofing, and yeah, probably it is. Hi, CCC nerd. Oh, CCC nerd. Is this like Chaos Computer Club nerd? Or is it a different CCC? Anyway, so I'm not going to be the guy to talk about promises. Maybe Noland can do that. And that brings us to the second thing we're going to do tonight. So we have the illustrious guest, Noland CHALIHA, how he explained to me to pronounce his name. And we're going to get him in a little session later with hey.
Weißt du eigentlich, dass wir das da oben sehen, genauso wie du sagst?
Ach, das ist ja witzig. Okay, jetzt geh mal schlafen.
Ja.
Okay, that was Ella. Ella, everyone, yeah!
Bazinga!
So we're gonna get Noland on, who's gonna tell us a little bit about SDF, I suppose, or whatever he wants to do. He's saying they have done something with promises. So like, again, whatever the fuck that means. But alright, cool. So I'm gonna say let's jump into it. And so what I've been looking at for today You can talk about promises. Oh, that's great. Yeah, let's talk about promises. And thanks for the nice sounds. I got another one. It is promise. Okay, let's get this started. So we had in the group. Let me just pull up the group real quick. So there was this a couple of people playing around with this vertex displacement. Let me see if it comes up quickly. Oh man, there's so much stuff going on in that group, it's crazy. Oh yeah, there's a stream. Hello, Jude SG. Exactly, the SDF master itself, NOLAND, is gonna talk about that shit. Amazing. Oh man, I just saw it like recently. Oh, there's the other thing from the stream. Oh, that's funny. Vaporwave. I think Josh did the post. Search for Josh. Oh, there it is. Okay, so here, there you go. So he had that thing going on where he basically had this wobbling thing, and it's made with vertex displacement as described by Dan. So I did look into that when it was released in version 85, but I did also try the thing Dan explained in the in this video here we have over here. I mean, I'm not gonna watch it, but you can watch it yourself if you want. And what's NOLAND saying? Oh, that looks cool too. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. And so basically what happens is that, let's just go into Spark. So I did recreate something similar here, and that's what we're going to look at in a second, how to do that. And it did, yeah, wobbly donut. So that's nice. So let's start from scratch. I'm just going to save this thing here. And actually, I'm just going to save it to a Dropbox and make a new folder and call it, I don't know, Twitch. Twitch, yeah. And then save it to vertex displacement. So that we have it. And then I'm just going to share on Discord the whole folder when you know, after the stream. But how satisfied are you with? What the fuck? That's about how satisfied I'm with Spark. No, I'm kidding. I love it. Yes. So let's go 5 stars. I'm very satisfied. Okay, let's do that together. What do we want? Chat, tell me, do we want more advanced features? Or what? I don't even know. Okay, anyway, let's get going. So this is the thing we're gonna build. And just a few things here. Like, I'm obviously, it's not like I don't know everything, right? So I'm basically just you know, trying to get to understand things, and this is also a little bit the idea behind the fix the bloody bugs. Exactly, yeah, the 09152. That would be a good one, but there's no box for that, I think. So basically the idea behind the stream is to just play around with shit and learn something, and then, you know, how I already learned from Julian how to work that Discord stuff, or be a bit better with it. Maybe you learn from you guys, or like hear from you guys what you're interested in, and then we just gonna fuck with shit together. So this one here, the vertex displacement stuff, I did play around with it a little bit before, so make sure it might work. I don't know whether it is gonna work, but it might work. Basically the thing I was thinking about what we could do is, before we get into it, look a little bit at the basics and look at the OpenGL shader pipeline. So if you go to OpenGL pipeline, there's a good image for that. So, as you know, or maybe you don't, but shaders in Spark is something that was exposed to patches quite recently, a few months ago or whatever, and this is something I really looked into quite thoroughly because I enjoyed it a lot. So this is what I do, coming from a design background, from an animation background. Basically what you can do is like do crazy shit like glass, as you can see here in the donut floating around. And now how does that work? Okay, so let's see if we find a good image for that. Yeah, so that's a good image, I think. I'm just gonna pop an overview. Okay, look at that. Make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Okay, so what's happening? So essentially, usually if you have, I'm just gonna get rid of the donut again from my face. What's happening if you have anything drawn on the screen, just as the pixels you're seeing right now? Traditionally, what happened is that the CPU, the processing unit of the computer, pushed the pixels to the graphics card, and the graphics card was just basically a dump frame buffer that was just displaying the pixels and not doing much more than that. And then I guess in the late 90s you had graphics cards, GPU, graphics processing units, which became more capable, and this is what we're looking at now. So every computer has a CPU that does a lot of math and whatever else that's going on, and you have a GPU, and this is what's basically rendering all this stuff. And more and more things are being offloaded to the GPU. So it started with just being able to render polygons on the screen, and now we can do general processing stuff like rendering. If you look at render engines like Redshift that runs on the GPU, or Octane if you look at linear offline rendering. And hey, Night Pride, and that's what's happening now. And then OpenGL is one of the frameworks that basically facilitates the tools or like the programs. Hey, dude, welcome, UDSG. So that facilitates the programs to basically draw pixels on the screen and draw 3D objects on the screen. All right. So hey, Beth Wickerson. So basically, how does it work? Well, suppose you have an object like our donut, but you want to draw it on the screen. How it works is that you have what's called shaders, which are basically little programs that run on the GPU, on the graphics processing unit, that basically prepare the data to get displayed on the screen. And just very broadly, you have a vertex shader and pixel shader or fragment shader. That's the same thing. Pixel shader, fragment shader, same thing. And both use different, let's say, programming languages that are inherent to the framework that's used. So OpenGL has GLSL, and DirectX, which is a Microsoft programming environment, has what's called HLSL or something, high-level shader language, I think. And what Spark did is that I think internally they are probably using GLSL or something like that, but they did implement it in patches first, and then now it's also accessible via the scripting. But again, like I'm using mostly patches because I'm a visual guy, and so it's easier for me to use patches rather than scripting. And the other benefit, as I understand, of Spark, so like Facebook implementing it as a patches based approach, is that they can optimize internally a little bit better for new frameworks. So let's say Apple pushes out, what was it, a Metal framework instead of OpenGL or Vulkan on AMD. They can implement that in Spark on a lower level without the user having to learn any new thing, and they can optimize stuff and so on. Okay, so that was a bit of history, and you're more than welcome to read up on that if you're interested. I'm just going to post this link here in the chat if you want to check it out. And essentially what was possible to do in Spark is to access the fragment shader. And that is basically the part of the shader program that draws the pixels and looks at, a lighting, like what, that's not entirely true, like looks at the texture, what texture do we need. But we were not able to access the vertex shader, so to change the position of vertices. All right, so let's go into Spark and explain that. So let's make a new file and look into that. I'm gonna close the other one. Okay, so now that's this, and now I'm just gonna first put myself back onto webcam. There you go. Okay, so let's take it step by step and don't cuff. Well, it's the Rona. What can I do? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Hey, David. Ooh, hey, what's up? Hey, Ben Wickerson. Welcome, everyone. So I'm just gonna. It's not asthma, no. It might be actually. I have allergy. Hey, last time. So maybe it is. Hey, Julian. Oh yeah. Very nice. Using what's this guy? Is this Elon Musk? Looks like Elon Musk. Hey, Yongwei, thanks for the follow. Where were I? Yeah. So let's start and just doing just a simple Spark shader thing, right? Hey, Blanco. Hey, Christoph, na? Alles fresh? Witzig. Alright. Okay, so let's start doing a simple shader. Basically, I'm just gonna add a I'm just gonna add a plane. So that's that, and that doesn't have any material applied yet. So let's go to material and change it to flat. And what flat means compared with all the other stuff is that it's basically not taking into account any of the light information. So it's always going to display the same pixel. It doesn't matter which light is on or not. So like if I switch off those lights here, nothing's gonna happen. All right, so let's just load any texture. I don't want you guys to see my hard drive. Okay, so I'm just gonna load some random texture. Alright, yeah, okay, good. That's this one. I use this one, why not, right? And now, of course, as you know, I can just go to texture and put the texture. What is that? New texture? Oh, that's weird. Oh, now you think. Oh, what new project is happening? JPEG. I should be able to just put it in here. Anyway, who cares? If I press this button, it's gonna show up in the patches thing. And now I guess you just have to let me know whether you can read the labels here on the patches or not. Hey, Omi, how's it going? Robots. Okay, I'm just gonna do some sound effects. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, actually, this one I saved for if an example works. So that's very much premature. Yeah. So it's this is not.
Hive stop.
Yeah. We're gonna go back. Nine. All right. So I should be able to drag this material in and just connect it, and it should show up, and it does. Very nice. So okay. So one thing you're noticing is obviously the aspect ratio is not correct, meaning that it's squashed. Which the reason is that if you look at the texture here, the original texture is actually obviously not square, and the square is square. Anyway, so now, okay, so we have a texture on a plane. Why do we care? So what we can do now is actually use the texture sampler and look at the vertex attribute of texture coordinates, put that into UV, which is UV is the axis of the texture coordinates. And then if you put the RGB thing back in here, and then we go back off here, we have the same thing. Oh, so yeah, so who cares? Well, the cool thing now is what we can do is we can manipulate the UVs. And that is basically how all the shade effects in Spark work, more or less. Like if you look at all the stuff, what I'm doing like on my Gumroad, and actually if you go to Twitch, I put the link for the Gumroad for the shaders I'm doing, and you can check it out and check them out. Yeah! So yeah, you can do that. So everything revolves more or less around manipulating the UV. So what does that mean? Okay, so here the UVs come out and show the texture here, which position on the plane they should be. So if we just manipulate them, we can do a little add, right? And then nothing happens. And if I put 1, the texture disappears. If I put 0.1, it's shifted a little bit. And this, what I'm doing is I'm adding this value to the UV, so I'm changing the position. Okay, so here's one trick I'm doing a lot is if I want to just play with shit and I'm too lazy to enter numbers and I don't even know what scale those numbers have, what I do is I just use the screen pan feature. And if I'm just going to put the position in here, and then I can just move around with my mouse and oh no, nothing happens. Well, because the values coming out here are crazy high, right? Because they are the screen coordinates. But so what I do is I just drag the device thing in here, and then I just divide the position by the screen size, and that's called why use vertex attribute over texture transform. Well, Omi, good question. We're going to get there. If you just want to move the texture, obviously you can use the texture transform, but I'm going to show you in a second what you can do with the shader stuff. Okay, so I just normalized the position of my mouse cursor, which means now if I press here, it's going to be 0, and if I press here, it's going to be 1. I'm going to show you. All right, and so now I can just move it around. All right, cool. Cool beans. Well, why do we care? Okay, so now the cool thing we can do is we can use now the value of a different texture to manipulate the UVs of another texture, so to speak. So basically we can displace it. And that's what we're doing, right? Displacing textures, and in a second we're going to displace vertices as well. So if I use just a camera texture and use the camera texture here, right? And I'm just going to plug it in. So it's just my own ugly, boring self again. Hey, don't you know? Thanks for the follow. And yeah, I'm just going to put on some music. It's much nicer with the music. The thing is, like, so much going on with the chat and everything, can't concentrate a little bit. I have to get used to that. Maybe music is sad. Alright, so now on our plane, we just have the camera texture. And now the cool thing is that we can use the values of the camera texture to displace the UVs of our other texture. So if I put that guy in here, and then I'm just gonna put the camera texture in here, we're seeing, oh, boom, it doesn't work. Hi, Jive. Thanks for the follow. It doesn't work. Well, why doesn't it work? Okay, so we don't know, but we can ask the tool to tell us. So if we press this little button here, it says patch. Can you read that? It says patch is not defined for the provided input types, vector 2, vector 4. So basically what it's saying that from the vertex attribute, we get the type vector 2 because it has 2 coordinates, u and v. And we just get that out, and because then you can see me, it's like u and v, or the other way around, I forgot. And the texture from the camera obviously gives us a 4, it's like a vector 4. It's like RGB and alpha. Alpha is always 1 for the camera, but so we can use the unpack node, for example, and the pack node to get it to there. But what I always love to use is the swizzle node. This is a really like super useful thing. So then we can just say, hey, give us the R channel of the camera image and displace our coordinates. It's not working again. What shit? Swizzle and over unpack. Yeah, definitely. It depends on what you want to use it for, but generally speaking, yes, swizzle is fucking amazing. You can do so much cool shit with it. Okay, so why is it not working? So let's see, what does it want? Patch is not defined for the provided input types, texture 4 channel, texture 2 channel. Anyway, the problem is that we need to also sample the camera texture to be able to use the UVs. As far as I found out, I mean, maybe there's a simpler way, But so basically what we're doing is we're gonna loop over the UVs of the camera texture, sample that, use two channels of that and displace the UVs. And now it's working. So now what you're seeing is, oh, okay, now it's like, what is that? No, what was the other one? Hold on. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Now it's a little bit much. It's a little bit much, right? So it's like all crazy, you can't see anything. But I'm just gonna scale that in place a little bit. But what you can do is you can just hey Knuckles Edge, thanks for the follow. Hey Young Ray also, thanks for the follow. Drive, Hiplani, and everyone, thanks for the follow. So now what you can do is you can just tone down that. Hey Andreas, hi, welcome to Discord. So you can tone down that by just saying multiply, right? And then if you have multiply 1, it's basically the same value, it doesn't do anything. If I put multiply 0, it doesn't like it, I don't know, but it's still working. And if I put 0.1, see, oh now it looks nice, see? Hey Omi, and this is also why for this example, texture transform wasn't what we wanted to do, but we wanted to actually, offset, displace one texture with another texture. And we can swap it around easily now, right? So we can just displace any texture with any texture at that point. So we can just use the camera texture, right? So that's myself again. That's actually cool. This is the camera texture displaced with the camera texture. It's kind of cool too. But we can displace it also now with our texture we loaded. And hey, actually, by the way, so now the plane is a 3D plane, right? So I can just, rotate it and whatever. But if you do those screen space effects, usually what you would use is not a 3D plane, but a 2D plane, and that you add that by doing 2D objects, rectangle. Then you can put the material, so that's what it is. And now if you want to scale it to the whole screen of your phone, you go to size, click once, say fill width, click twice, fill height, and now that's what we're talking about. So now I'm displacing the camera texture and I'm using the imported texture. So XY. Yeah, XYZ. Jive is asking what's inside Swizzle. Okay, so Swizzle, let's talk about Swizzle a little bit, right? Because Swizzle is fucking amazing. So let's assume you have a value, and that's that's text not allowed. Yeah, there you go. And this is why, okay, let's switch it around and let's just use the camera texture itself to displace the camera texture, which is kind of cool also, right? And now what we can also do is, because we have the multiply thing, we can do, this is actually a great example for a swivel also, right? So now, alright, let's see. So out of the texture sampler, this color here, right? The color value is actually 4 channels, right? It has the RGB and alpha channel. But again, the texture coordinates is just 2 channels. You just have the horizontal and the vertical channel, and it's called U and V. And now you have to basically decide which channels of the texture you use to displace the U and V coordinates. So again, what you could do is use unpack and pack, and I think that's a good way to understand what's going on. So if I go unpack, and it's actually 4 channels, so I have to put vector 4, it gives me the RGBA in this case, because it's a texture, or XYZW if it's a vector. And now I can just use, again, pack 2 channels, which correspond to U and V in our case, and then just use basically the R channel of our texture to displace the X and Y, right? So those 2 nodes do exactly the same thing as this swizzle RR. So in swizzle you can put either 0, which means 0. You can put 1, which displaces the texture well, actually now we scale it down with a multiply node, but actually if we bypass that, it's displacing the texture so much that it's completely off the screen. So because UVs always go from 0 to 1, so if you move the texture in UV space the unit 1, then it's just moving out the way. Or we can put 0 when it's nothing is happening, or we can take any channel of the input node to basically map it to any channel of the output node. So if we put RR, then we're mapping the red channel of the camera image to both of the output channels, and then we just again multiplying it. And now another cool thing again, if we just take our little the thing here from before where we have the normalized pan thing and put it in our multiplier, I can just adjust by just moving around the cursor, adjust the amount of displacement. Alright, yeah, so this was the vertex displacement. No, not yet, it was the pixel displacement. And now, let's look into the vertex displacement, shall we? Alright, so let's assume... Oh fuck, now I closed Spark. That was not good. Oh no, I have another one. Yeah, that's good. That's an empty one. Let's assume we want to displace not the pixels in a texture, but we want to displace the vertices of an object. So okay, so what's the vertex? So let's just say I have a plane again, right? Plane is always a good thing to start with. And the plane here has 4 vertices. That's basically the 4 points here. So this will make it difficult to see anything. So we basically need like a more complex object. So how do we get that? Well, we can model it, but we can also grab it from the library, which has, funny enough, a high-res plane, which has 441. Yeah, you can totally make cool filters out of that. Definitely, yeah, absolutely. So again, like all shader stuff in Spark basically revolves around manipulating UVs in one or the other way. So this is the base thing for that. So anyway, so in the AR library, you have this high resolution plane, which you can import, and it looks like a plane. It's essentially the same thing, but it has more vertices, so more dots in between. So let's see, is there a way to have a wireframe view? I don't think we have that. Okay. Alright, so if we want to now make maybe like a ocean water surface or something, now it's possible to displace vertices. Yeah, no wireframe. Well, we can actually, what we can do actually, let's make our own, okay, fuck it, let's make our own wireframe shader real quick, shall we? Alright, cool, yeah, let's go. So, we're just gonna, oh no, hold on. No, I think we can't. Anyway, forget it. It's just, we would have to make the object ourselves. But you do a wireframe shader in Spark if you manipulate the UVs of the source object. It's a little trick. Maybe next stream. All right. We now want to manipulate the vertices. Okay, so as Dan explained in this Instagram post, you can now, which is really cool, on a shader in shader type do patch asset, and they create patch asset. So now it's purple all of a sudden. Why is it purple? So that's weird. So what's happening is, like, going back to the OpenGL pipeline thing, what we've been working with in the offset example from the the texture thing before was the fragment shader, basically the part of the program that paints the pixels of a texture. And now what we want to go one step above in the process basically and manipulate the vertices. And now you can do that. And how does it work? Well, now there's this, when I clicked on shader type patch asset, there's this patch asset here. And if we look inside, it has, well, okay, so it has the outputs color and position. So the material now has the input parameters, just input, that's interesting. Color and position, and color is basically just the same thing we just did, right? We can just pipe in any texture or whatever we want. Like, so if we have the camera texture and just extraction, put it in here, it should hopefully, oh no, oh okay, now, here's the thing. Okay, so, yeah, no, it's purple actually because that's the normals. We're gonna get to that in a second, but basically, so what tripped me up on this one, and this is also why I didn't really work with this a lot, is that if you take this patch now and then you just input something, this is not doing anything. So what you have to do actually is take in the material now, take this input guy and put the texture in, and now it should work, and it does. So it's blue, but it works. So that's something which is like totally weird. So this patch asset is actually just passing through info from, yeah. So that's the thing. We do not need to create new instances every time we make changes. That's RB Kevin. Thanks for the question, and hello idiot, and I am Craig Lewis. Hey, thanks for the follow. That's so, again, like, it's so weird because people have different names on Twitch than they have in Facebook, so I don't know who you guys are. But anyway, that's a thing. That's something I only figured out today, actually, and I only saw it again on the Facebook group by Josh Backward. He actually posted that, and let me just. Exactly. That's what I'm gonna do. So if we search for Josh, he's the man. Big up to him. He explained that here in the in the comments. You shouldn't try to use the patch asset directly. Instead, use it as a way to pass color, and that's what we're gonna do. But it's so weird because what you assume, obviously, at least what I assume, is that you go in here, you change some shit around, and it won't update, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build that patch asset from scratch. I'm just gonna like scrap all of that shit and build it from scratch. So basically, an empty asset. I don't actually know how to do an empty asset. I'm just gonna put a value node down and just make a group out of it. So now that's like, let's say my whatever shader. And now we need a color output and a position output. So properties, output, we need a color output, type color, and we need a position output, type, and that's vector 4 actually. And you learn that by going in here and looking at, well, oh, it's vector 3? Interesting. I thought it's 4. So, never mind, my bad. Let's put it to vector 3. Okay, my shader. Now it's a group, and it's not yet in this patches section here of the, what that's saying, asset library or whatever. So if I now right click and say convert to patch asset, here's my shader. Now I can hopefully select my material here and put patch asset my shader. Okay, so now, oh, it's complaining. Why is it complaining? I think actually it might be because the output needs to be vector 4. Let's try that. And now, unfortunately, we do have to do a new convert to patch asset because, you know, it needs to be correct if you want to call it that way. Yeah, now it works. And now it's gone. Yeah, now it's gone. Well, this is why is that? Well, because if you input nothing into color, then it just has alpha 0, so it's invisible. So, but now the problem is our shader here has the outputs color and position, but it doesn't have any inputs we can use to drive the actual values of it. So the material doesn't have any inputs here. So we do have to actually add inputs. So let's put an input for color. Oops, color. And add an input for position, because this is the position of the vertices, and that's what we do want to change. Okay, and let's make a new patch asset, and then we don't have to make a new patch asset every time. We just have to make this one patch asset once. That allows us to pass through values into the shader, and then we can just forget about it. Back 3 did not work here. I don't know what. Oh, actually, fuck, I forgot something. I have to internally connect the values, obviously, and I can delete the value thing here. And I'm just gonna do a new patch asset, get rid of the other ones, keep them, okay, whatever. Okay, alright, now I have my shader, and that should hopefully work. So I'm just gonna patch asset my shader, and it's not complaining, so that's good. And now I can get rid of that actually. I have in the material, I have the parameters color and position, right? So in color, I can put in anything I want, a value, make it color. Okay, good. And in position, well, what do I have to put in position? We can find out if we use this original patch asset that was created by the preset, and then just say ungroup, and then just put that into position, and there you go, boom, there we have our rectangle back. Alright, cool. Well, so that's good, right? So we have a rectangle. Amazing. Okay, now the cool thing is, now obviously, I'm just gonna put maybe, I don't know, the camera texture back onto it to make it look less boring. So, yeah, well, it's me. It's probably even more boring. I don't know. But now, what do we want? We want to make like a nice displacement with it, right? So what we should be able to do actually is take the position of the vertices, and the same way we add it to the UVs, we should be able to add a value to the position of the vertices to be able to deform them. So let's try that. So let's put add. And then I'm just gonna add something, and oh, it's gone. Oh, but it's there behind, right? So let's do our same trick again. Let's do a pan, and then let's just say position. Let's swivel just one position in there. We have a oh, should we? How do I find out what value is coming out of there? But I don't know. Well, it's gonna complain in a second. Oh no! Now it's gonna map the X position of the pan to all of the channels of the other value. So if I just okay. So now it's too much again. So let's normalize it, right? So let's get the device. Hey, Freddy. Top West. Thanks for the follow. Let's get the normalization thing again. Let's get the position divided by the screen size. And then, you know, again, like the values go from 0 to 1. Okay, so now it's displacing all vertices. And that's cool. So you see it is actually moving the object. So that means it's displacing the vertices. Never left the camera screen even if it's not child of camera. Not sure what that means actually. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. So now if we say, hey, we just want to map basically the value of X to channel 1 of the ad, I'm just gonna put this. So now I can move it left and right, right? Oh, it's weird. Is it left and right? It seems like it's... Oh no, it's actually going... Oh, that's interesting. Should just be one axis. Oh, okay, it's 4. should just be left and right actually. I'm sure why this is also going to the back when I have 0 for all the other values. Anyway, the point is that now we can offset the object. This is again like this weird thing that it's in camera space. Again, okay. Now it works. Okay, so basically when I put it, make it apparent, exactly, move it from the device, yeah. So if now it's below the device in the hierarchy, so all the transformations are just applied to the object and not going through any hierarchy before it, I suppose. But basically now if I move my mouse left and right, the object is going up and down, and if I change that up to x000, I have the same thing, it goes left and right. Does it? Is it rotated? No. Well guys, I don't know, that's a little weird. I have to wrap my head around it in a calm moment to figure out why that happens. But we don't really care, because what we want to do is we want to displace it and we don't want to move it. Same question, why don't we even care, and why don't we even bother if we just want to move it? And now what we can do is, unfortunately, now what you would want to do is you would want to use again a texture, right, to displace the vertices of the object. That would be the best thing, that would be like a displacement map, but you can't do it apparently. So let's try that. So what we just tried is we take a texture sampler, we use the vertex attribute, texture coordinate, and let's use the camera texture, why not? And then let's just put it in add here, and it doesn't want it. Why? Alright, vertex info, must write to GL position warning, is not accessible in this profile. GL position is not accessible in this profile. Whatever the fuck that means, long story short is you cannot use textures, unfortunately, to do displacement mapping. But what you can do is you can use other things, as Josh mentioned here in this post, drive it procedurally, which is basically using sine waves. So let's try that. So if we just take basically the position of every vertex and add, just get rid of this here, a sine wave of itself to it, what happens then? It gets bigger. So let's adjust the, well, first of all let's animate it. So we use runtime, which gives you the, well, it's basically just a counter running up from the time we started Spark. So now it goes, see, now it goes back and forth, but the value is too high, so let's just tone it down a little bit, multiply it by 0.1 or whatever. Okay, so now it's more or less doing what we want, right? But now we want, let's see now, to have a higher frequency of the wave. So we want to, ooh, look at that. So now we have something. So now the vertices, so what I did is just I multiplied the values coming out of the position to just increase the frequency of the sine wave. And now we have something going on. So let's make too much. Yeah. That looks funny. It does look weird. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh yeah, if you look at it from the top, you see it is working. Let's just lower it again. Oh yeah, look at that! Woohoo! We have a flag, a vector displacement flag. That calls for a... Alright. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. So now let's go. Let's just tone it down a little bit more. That's too much. Yeah. I'm gonna share the file. Like I said, after the thing. Okay. So So let's just swivel it around again. So it's just affecting one channel basically. Alright, so okay, now it's just the X position. Right. Now it's the Y position. Oh yeah, see, there you go. Oh, that's pretty cool. So just adjust the. So now there you go. Okay, great. There you have it. Now you have you nice weird looking
This is Sparta!
So there you go, vector displacement. Whoops! And now, we should be able to just drag in any object to that material and it should just work. So let's try it out. So I'm gonna do to the library and take the donut and just put the donut in the scene. Torus, whatever, yeah, okay, sure, Torus. And then fuck off texture. So, and now if I just put our other texture, there you go. You have a donut. Woohoo! Sign is so sexy, oh man, I tell you. And now, okay, so now obviously what would be cool, so there you go. So it's oh no, that's the wrong value. So if we have this value, basically is the frequency, and this value is the amplitude. See? And now we can do the cool thing and say, hey, let's map the X position of my mouse cursor to the what did I say? Frequency and the Y position to my amplitude. And so now this is normalized. So if I go here, up and down, it defines the. So this is 0, and then left right is the frequency, but this is actually, it needs to be much higher than just from 0 to 1. So we just multiply it by, I don't know, 180 maybe, and then boom. See, now I can adjust interactively basically what I want my guy to displace. Okay, alright, that calls for another. Okay, it did work out. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that it did actually work out. Okay, so now last step of the thing. What if we want to make it transparent? Then what you can do, for example, is use this glass shader I have on my Gumroad. I'm just gonna throw it on here real quick. Hold on, have to look for it. Okay, now we're back. So if you use the shader here, boom, a glass, and then you should be able to just take this and throw it in the color channel. And now, boom, there you go. You have a displaced, vertex displaced, transparent donut. It's a little bit too much. I'm just gonna tone it down. Oh yeah, look at that. This is very smooth. Yeah, I'm just gonna lean back and enjoy the smooth donut for a bit. Oh, actually, check it out. I brought the swag for tonight. Yeah. Donut. Oh yeah, donut. Remove the glass patch. Yeah, that's a good one. No, I mean, I actually, yeah, I should probably do that. I have a funny story about that. I don't know if I can. I'm gonna tell that story now, but yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I can do patch acid with frequency and shit. Yeah, probably. But actually, what I was thinking about, hey, yeah, you bought it. I mean, big up. Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. The thing is that obviously using sine waves is while it is not like basically what I'm trying to say, it's very it's not really that useful. And one thing I wanted to do tonight, but I want to get NOLAND on in a second, but maybe we can do it on a next stream if there's going to be a next stream. The problem is now we are adjusting the vertices in world space, or actually in object space. But obviously what you want to do is you want to adjust them you want to push them out. So you want to adjust them along their normals. And so that's one thing. And the other thing is that I really want a procedural noise. You bought it twice. Why is that? Alright, well, I mean, good for me, I suppose. Gobi, hey, Gobi, thanks for the follow. Hey, Dominatoko, thanks for the follow, man. Guys, dudes. Hey, let's do a little bit of, what do we do?
Bazinga!
Oh, yeah.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Shall we play a game?
Anyway, so yeah, basically, what will be so cool is to have a procedural noise in Spark, and you can theoretically build it. And for you guys, actually, if anyone of you wants to learn more in depth about shader stuff, like what we did today was like very, very rudimentary, basic stuff. But if you really want to go in, check out Book of Shaders, and this is an amazing resource for learning about shader stuff. And it's actually by I confused that. It's by someone else. Well, anyway, it's by Patricio Gonzalez, Vivo, and Love. The old one and the new one, yeah. Anyway, so I'm just going to post it in the chat here, Book of Shaders. This is amazing. And they have basically a lot of resources for learning how to do shader stuff. And they have this noise section here, right? Where you can basically build procedural noises. This would be so fucking cool to use to do displacement and stuff like that. Now the problem is that the method he's using here does not work on Spark. It does work in the Spark editor. It does not work on mobile, because in Spark mobile have low precision, and for this to work you need high precision. There was a post I saw. Who did I think I was? Well, I thought it was the Shader Toy guy, right? What's his name? Inicio Gonzalez or something. So Shader Toy is this website where you can. Oh shit! I hope my computer's not crashing now. But the IQ. This guy. I thought it was from this guy, but he actually has amazing resources too. So, what's this guy's name? Inigo Quiles, and he, funny enough, works at Facebook as far as I understand, or at Oculus. But he has also fucking amazing tutorials for doing, basically procedurally doing shit. I'm just gonna post this website as well. So this is an amazing resource as well. I thought it's the same guy. Apparently it's not the same guy. But anyway, both is amazing. So this is also definitely something you want to check out. So he does live coding, and it's an amazing resource. Anyway, so long story short, so what you want this shit to be able to displace. If you can't get texture displacement, which of course would be even better, you should be able to get procedural noise, but it's not possible on mobile. So now there was a post on the forum by let's just see if I can find it. Hold on. Oh, hey, Lasse. Oh, this is amazing. Thanks so much. Let's see. That's amazing. Yeah, thanks, Lasse. Now the question is, does that work also in patches? Because, oh my, fuck. Well, this definitely looks like something you don't want to build in patches. Because I was thinking that would have been my next step, actually, to try to get the things into scripting. Because I also felt that this is actually probably a better way to deal with that stuff. And one thing I actually was thinking about is that if you can't use textures, you kind of should be able to use SDF maybe for that. I don't really know, because the how would you translate the code to visual? Well, I mean, you couldn't just basically read through it from back to front and replace it with patches, more or less. I mean, maybe you can't, but I mean, this looks like a quite complicated stuff, to be honest. It's a lot of work, yeah. So I mean, I did do that with a lot of the stuff for my patches, just basically going to shader toy or stuff like that, noise, and then. I mean, let's look at it. Why not, right? Let's see. So we have the random function here, and then you see what is it? So this is basically, this random function is kind of like what everyone uses all the time. Does this answer? I was looking for, actually, someone said that. So basically, the problem is that you have low precision on mobile. And then someone said, yeah, but you can do values from half pi to pi or something. So that was what I was looking for, but I forgot. Okay, but basically regarding the question, how would you build this as patches? So you would basically just take this and then just rebuild it, right? So I'm just gonna close this. So just as an example, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but basically say, okay, so you have a vec2 with those two values. So this is in patches, basically. Can you read that in the thing? So it's basically a vec2 is a vec2, and then you can just put the patches in. Like boom, boom. So you have this, and then this is a dot product of st.xy, which is the UV coordinates. So you go vertex, texture coordinates, then you go dot product texture coordinates, and this guy, this is actually multiplied by, hold on, now what's multiplied by what? Well, basically, you have to just rebuild it and find your way through that shit to get it into patches. And this is something I did do with few shaders from Book of Shaders or Shader Toy, or just like as a base for exploring stuff. But yeah, it's a pain. It's obviously much easier to go copy, boom, paste, and yeah. But then you have to do everything in script, which is a pain as well, especially with the React and with the no promises. React is like, fuck off! Oh my god, I can't stand it. Okay, so yeah, and SDF is something you might be able to use to displace or kind of like work with work with the vertex displacement. I don't know, we will see. But now I think it's a good time to see whether Nolan has time to jump on. And I'm just gonna see, because again, like we talked earlier, and I wanted to bring him in, and I'm gonna see if we can do that. All right. So. Yeah, so I did not try to make glass and cables, but cables is fucking amazing. So big up to whatever your name is, 71W3. And it's definitely possible to do that. Yeah. Cool. All right, so.
Oh, it's not. It's.
Hey, Noland. How's it going? Now you're on.
Good.
So, everyone, this is Noland. CHALIHA, as he told me his last name is spelled. Master of SDF, and very warm welcome here in the stream. And okay, now I have to click on you. So, first of all, can everyone hear Noland?
Can you hear me? Hello?
So chat, please be so kind to let us know whether you can. I can hear you, obviously, but you're in my hangout. Yeah, so they can hear you.
Good.
Great, Nolan. So hey, why don't you, I don't know, introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi, I'm Nolan. I don't know, like I post a lot in the group. I've been doing creative coding for a while, and I love to just play around with Spark AR. I especially love to teach people and help people discover new things. So that's kind of my primary motivation. I used to be a community college art teacher. And
That course. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love that. I love making just weird shit and like pushing the software as far as it could go. Yeah, and SDFs are fun. I tend to gravitate towards them just because I love the idea of making something visual out of math. I think that's really beautiful. And Spark AR makes SDFs easier than just doing in OpenGL. So, yeah, I don't know what else to talk about.
Well, what about your beard? You did get props.
Oh,
You know,
yes,
when we did a little test chat earlier, I did already congratulate him on his new beard. So now the chat doubled down on that. So that's a good one.
Yes, I had a beard for many years. I actually don't like having a beard at all. I just have been so stressed, and like so much shit has gone on in the world that it's just like
It's true.
such a chore.
It's
a
true.
chore.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Lasse says you should talk about machine learning also. So much shit to talk about today, I suppose.
That's what I was about to say. It's my actual background, and what I'm most passionate about is machine learning. So I heard about Spark AR. The first time I heard about it was in the context of machine learning.
Oh yeah.
So, like, I'm hoping that people watching this all know what machine learning is, but if they don't, it's what makes the processes behind Spark AR, like tracking the face and making the segmentation for the body. Those are powered by machine learning. And when Spark AR was in beta, those machine learning models were open. And for me,
Wow.
as a machine learning programmer, I wanted to learn from them. And I actually remember one of my first thoughts about this software was like, this is hilarious because I've spent, a decade making every single thing in this software. And that's still kind of like how I look at it. Like, I love to make beautiful things and community, but I'm always interested in how the machine learning libraries are evolving and making my own machine learning libraries that are, maybe mimicking or getting closer to what I'd always want Spark AR to do. So, that remains something that I get motivated by, where I'm like, here's some cool shit that I would love to have in Spark AR. I'm just gonna build it completely in like ARKit, use my own machine learning library, and then push that into the app. And if you look at my Instagram, there's so many experiments that are just things that might have taken me years to actually get to the point where they're working in that way. But I have like one that's a machine learning library that detects the ends of your fingers.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
That's amazing.
yeah, I love that one. And I think that's been about 2 years
Yeah.
to
Oh,
get
of
to
course.
the point where it like kind of works.
So I'm
But
curious.
like,
Do you
Go ahead.
know by any means? Do you know Gene Kogan talking about machine learning? You know the guy?
no.
I don't know. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah.
he's like also doing machine learning and stuff. Yeah. So I thought it's funny because you on Instagram, you're also always coding something, right?
Mhm.
And for the longest time, I couldn't put two and two together because I knew you from the group and I knew you from Instagram. I didn't realize it's the same person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's like I feel like all of my followers are just other creative coders, and then there isn't much of an audience outside of that. But I'm thankful for the audience that I have. Like, I think it's cool that everyone that follows me is pretty engaged, and that's pretty special.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I also feel that this is something that attracted me to Spark a lot initially was the audience or the community. That was so much fun, like geeking out with everyone, and that definitely motivated me to even keep going with Spark because, as you also alluded to, especially in the early days, it was so rudimentary that it was kind of like, I don't know, like I just remember opening it the first time was like, oh my god, what is this thing? Like if you compare it to whatever Unity or something, it's so basic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that also makes it fun, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it being like a beta product is what is exciting about it. Like the fact that it's changing and evolving, and you get to be part of that. And of course, that's going to be exciting and frustrating at times. But for me, it's mostly exciting. Like, I'm just like, oh, cool, some shit broke, but some other shit got way better. So
Yeah.
that's what you end up seeing.
And they are moving at a pretty breakneck speed in the development. I'm always quite amazed by the speed they push things.
Yeah.
But also actually by the speed they break things. If you look at how many things don't work or work differently, just talking about promises. So I don't know. I mean, again, like first of all, thanks for coming on tonight. I definitely feel a little bit more relaxed now that I'm talking to an actual other human being rather than just talking to my own computer, which is so weird.
No, that was cool though. I loved seeing you go through that. That was really nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Our pleasure. And so basically, my idea was for you to maybe tell us a little bit about SDS because I'm rarely using SDS above just saying, hey, make a circle or something. And I have certainly no idea how I would approach the stuff you are releasing using SDS. And,
all right.
you could also, if you want, talk about promises. I don't know, maybe chat. Like guys, if you want to chime in and whatever it is you want to hear. You said you and Lasse, you were building this new. I forgot. Yeah, some people built this new. What was it, like, library for using promises or something?
Yeah. So here, can you see my screen? Yeah, me and Lassie and Luke Hurd, we just took all the old like Spark AR templates and we started to redo them. And we use promises. I'll talk about STS first because it's more fun.
So David is asking, and that's something I'm super curious about myself as well. Do you know whether SDS can be used for vertex displacement?
SDFs can't be used for vertex displacement because of the same problem that the same problem that they can't be used to make textures, because ultimately how Spark AR is understanding SDFs is as a texture.
Yeah.
So like, even though they're supposed to be computational mathematical equations, the way that they're interpreted is a texture 2D.
Because the thing is that I had that, because the problem is that once the shader is passed to GPU, it cannot accept values coming from the CPU.
Exactly.
Right? And I thought that might be the reason why somehow the vertex displacement can't take a texture, because it's already like one step further down the pipeline or whatever. But you can actually use shader signals to drive SDS. So that's why I thought, well, maybe it's possible to use SDS to do vertex displacement.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I encountered, I need to like open up the file of the asset to go through it. Let me find it.
Should I put some waiting music?
Yeah, let's move all this over here. Where is it?
This is Sparta!
So it's it's exactly what you're saying, where it's something it's already treating one pass basically, and since we can't use a second pass in Spark AR at the moment, there's just not a way to access that information again. Because that would be an easier way to just explain it that way instead of taking forever to try to find it. But let's just go through some SDFs. And I took basically took off where you had left off with the displacement of the texture. So I did a little bit differently, where I'm using function fragment stage to compose that displacement texture, which I use again to get the XX coordinates and then multiply it and add it back into a composition node. And that takes the camera texture. So this is all to get the UV.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, just really quick, but
stop!
should we talk a little bit about the function versus texture sampler?
Yeah. So I think you're going to be better at that than I am.
Right. Okay. So let's skip it then. Let's skip it for another time then. Never mind.
I think it's pretty high level. I've always been bad at it, so I'll stay in SDF land.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Very good.
So to just discuss the steps that are happening here. So the SDF as they are in Spark AR, they are taking the pixel value and the pixel distance, and they're defining it as positive and negative values. And what we want to do often is to, let's look at the simpler idea here to be an intro to make it make sense. Boop, boop, boop. Put that in there. Come on. Okay. So this is like the default example, and I actually think it's a really fantastic example because it explains SDFs really well. But you start off with a SDF shape. Then you use an SDF mix, which is essentially saying interpolate between two different SDF shapes. And this mix value is the magnitude of the interpolation. So how much SDF1 and SDF2 mixed together. And then here I'm using scale so that I could make both SDFs a certain scale together after they are mixed. And the step here is the essential part. So step, like I had said in the beginning, is it's taking that pixel value distance and giving it a defined or absolute value. So it's saying, I want this point of the pixel value distance. So if we say step and we put that into the alpha, what we've now done is made these two SDF shapes that are mixed together are then being combined as the alpha in which the color values can draw upon. So if it doesn't have a pixel value, then it's going to be transparent, and that part is going to come in as red. And then if it does, and it's going to be green. So I think that's always the essential idea that you start out with, and then you can animate that mix value. And what you're doing is you're just changing that SDF star shape, and you're changing it because you're interpolating between this fixed SDF circle and this fixed SDF star, and you're saying, can we get the difference between those fixed distances, right? And so I often I could create a lot of interesting things just with this base example by taking out different SDF kind of equations. So this one is really useful. You take an SDF shape that you have, and you're repeating it along an axis. So you could define how many times it's repeated. Often SDFs are, this is something that people don't anticipate, is they're really, like in terms of the fragment size, they start off, their values are too big. So these values often have to be either scaled down to much less than you would expect. I personally think that they should show up in the default values way smaller than they are, because like I'm doing here, you're often drawing them to a canvas rectangle, and it's not on a plane that's being scaled. So you have to actually scale down to that size, and it, tends to be a smaller value, especially in the patch editor, than you would want to work with, because as we know, our least favorite patch editor thing is that we can't see the values once they get to a certain point down here.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed too. I'm so glad that you're telling me the same thing, because I always felt I'm too stupid to use SDF, because no matter what I put, nothing shows up. But turns out it's just like you have to make it super small. Well, I mean, I suppose what you could do is you could just do normal numbers and then divide by 100 at the very end, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, so that's what I am using here. Is like instead of struggling with having them all be right in this stage, that's the purpose of using that SDF scale, is you can put all of these equations in here and then scale it down at the end to get it to the point where you want it to be. And, you know, I'm going to take forever to get the right thing. But instead of taking forever, I'm just going to go, and here's someone in the group who has been creating awesome patches forever. Mohammed shared this one, so you can find this in the Spark AR group as a file. And what this one essentially is a bunch of really nice equations for SDFs that have been kind of pre-packaged, giving you some default values to work with. And I think that it tends to be really easy to have something out of the box like this. I especially like this part. And I'll take out that part here. So I love to start out with an SDF line. I think that's like one of the most useful things to have. And you could do so much with a line. It's insane. You could just start to rotate it and start to get it to go in these crazy different patterns. And it just gets very interesting very fast. And here, let's just look at what I want to do with this. So I've just got a line. And if I increase that normal value on the X, then I've got this center line that comes through. Now, if I take that repeat and I put it right into that repeat, and so now it's a two-step process. Let's delete all this crap. I'm going to start out really boring and get as exciting as I can quickly. So now I've got several lines across there. And you've got an X and a Y value. So if I add 10 to the Y value, I start to get that angled line. And if I add a size to the repeat, I'm getting a larger size. And let's take that down again. Then you could kind of get this nice repeating pattern like you would for maybe like a mosaic. And you can make it really interesting even at this point by just taking a loop animation and pumping it into the size of the repeat. Like you get an awfully beautiful pattern just from doing that. And if you take a transition node, which is one of my favorite nodes, and you put it in to that size, and you give it a nice interpolation curve, then you just get something that's really workable really quickly. And now you want to take that original line that you had and you want to rotate it around. And often this is how I start off building a lot of my effects, is I'll take this rotation value of whatever main shape I'm working with, and I'll take that angle and I'll put it in a face tracker. And I'll say, I want the rotation of my face tracker to now be powering that rotation of the SDF. So I could just unpack whatever value I want from the rotation of the face tracker. This one. And now, you know, I've got a really interactive looking thing. If you've seen any of my effects, you could see that this is like the basis for a lot of them, where you're moving around your head. They're just shifting that angle of the SDF line before it goes into the repeat. And, you know, you got something really nice. And if you put some an actual color in here that's attractive, or even better, if you don't put a color in there and you just multiply it, then you could get a pattern that is going over the person here. You know, you change the blend mode boop, boop, to subtract. And take out the alpha. That is not what I wanted to do. I was about to do it and I didn't do it. Oh, whatever. You get the point of what I'm trying to say there.
I think this definitely is already amazing.
See something like I'm doing down here, right?
No, because I already learned so much. I mean, I love
I'll take this out and I'll use it as a displacement map, which is what I did in my last effect. Is I basically took that mix value and I made the mix values, and a lot of people were asking me this, like how it was done. The mix values become, just like you saw in Mate's walkthrough, they become those normal values. You see these colors are chosen for a reason, because they are now going to be interpreted by the function and the composition as the normal values to displace that UV texture. So if we just take this back and we add it back into here. So here, all that's happening is the same thing that happened up above. I'm taking the polygon as my base shape. I'm mixing in the SDF line, which I've repeated. And here I could take the same face tracker value that I had and just pack it into a 2 vector or swizzle it, you know, whichever one you want to do. Let's swizzle it because we're promoting the swizzle. Love the swizzle.
I do.
Boop, boop. So swizzle, XY. Now you've got the XY values from the rotation of the head. Take those back down here. And let's put them into the translation of that line. So now as I rotate my head, that line is going to move around. If you wanted to make it even more exciting, a lot of times I will just take this translation value and I'll see what it looks like when I put it into the normal value. And usually that's like really attractive. Like the normal value again is, in this case, it's actually functioning as a normal value.
Yeah, so fuck up, Chrome crashed on me. So let's see if I can. Let's get that back. Oh yeah, good old Chrome. Well, but we're gonna be back in a second. Don't worry about it. Hey Noland, Chrome crashed on me. So I sent you the new link, new invite link. Yeah. And also the soundboard crashed with it. I just hope Nolan sees the. He's probably still talking. I just hope he sees the chat here. I don't think he does actually. Shit. Oh no, man!
Fuck off!
Ah!
Surprise, motherfucker.
Chrome crashed on you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can probably just hang around a little bit more and see if he comes back. Or what? I'm not sure. Yeah, the problem is I can't reach Noland. Oh, do I have his number? Let me see if I have his number. His phone number. We can call him. No, but I had him. Oh, there he is. He just saw the message on Messenger, so he's probably gonna join the new hangout in a bit. So I'm just gonna. Yeah. Yeah, Nolan got a new link. He's gonna be here any second, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully.
Shall we play a game?
Ah, there you go. There he is.
There you go.
Hey.
You didn't lose me like forever ago, did you?
Well, I mean, we did lose you a little while ago. So, I mean, not forever ago, but like maybe a minute or two ago. Or Julian is saying I can use Discord. Well, maybe next time I chat with people on Discord. I have to figure that out. But anyway, amazing so far. Sorry for that. All of a sudden the screen was frozen. The audio still did work, and then it was like,
Yeah, it's not connecting to my headphones. Give me a second.
Yeah.
There we go. Here's some nice, fucking technical problems.
I suppose it's fine.
So wait, where did we leave off, just so that I know what the hell's going on and what I could backtrack on?
I think you did. I mean, basically, I think you did the whole walkthrough more or less.
Oh, and now I can't hear you. 1 second.
Oh, you can't hear me?
God damn it!
We hear you. So if you, I'm just gonna type to you.
Okay, say it again. Say something.
Yeah, we hear you. I'm just gonna type in Messenger.
Okay, wait now.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Right,
God damn. So where did we leave off?
So well, yeah. So I think you basically walked us through everything more or less. So we did see the displacement of it, and that was about it. I think more or less.
Cool.
We did see it displacing. So I guess we got the idea. And I gotta say thanks so much already at that point, because again, like I already learned a lot just watching you go through it. It's kind of crazy. Like this one little thing you did with the transition, where you can just select the the how you call it, like the curves, the way it transitions. How do you call it again? Interpolation curves or whatever?
Interpolation curves, yeah.
Yeah. And then you just click the reverse on the animation thing. I've been like doing this always manually, just doing like, using sine and just math shit to get the value go up and down. I didn't even realize you can press this little button and then everything just works. It's crazy. I've been,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you get into these like design patterns and you like can't get out of them. You're
Yeah.
like, this is the way to do it, right? And there's nobody
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
sit around and yeah.
And wasn't there also, I saw something on the forum where you could have like the secret input in some node and define the interpolation patterns in that? What was it again?
Yep. That's exponential smoothing is the one,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a dampening.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, there is a problem with that. Like, I think that it works most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's super useful, but you don't want to depend too much on it. Like they are here, let's just swizzle it out because it'll be easier. So if we swizzle this to X just to get one vector, and we put it in here.
Yeah,
to
we don't
exponential
see your
smoothing.
screen actually, Nolan. So if
You
wanna,
don't? Okay.
Yeah, if
Let
you
me
wanna
wait.
do-
Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen again. Now, do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that one is one that I discovered just because I'm always just putting in random inputs into the patch editor. It was probably a mistake more than anything. But you see here you've got exponential smoothing.
Yeah.
You can now take that value, get a value node, and put it into dampening.
Yeah.
And this is good because you do often want to scale the interpolation curve. And that's something you could do in the reactive code really easily.
Okay.
Like there's a rotation value and all this crap. But in the patch editor, it's not easy at all. So even in the AR library, they have a couple of these, which if you don't use the AR library, I think you should check it out because some of these are really useful. Though it does say when you use something from this library, it'll say like this effect uses such and such from the Facebook asset library. So
Yeah.
just being aware that it's going to like say that on your effect when it's published.
Right.
But yeah, you could search here for exponential, if I could spell, and you could find the ones that you would probably spend 5 minutes building. But it could save you some time when you're wanting to slap things together.
Yeah, they do have some nice things. I just saw the other day they have Sobel filter, so they have convolution. That's pretty cool if you want to do like outlines or whatever. And they do have useful stuff. So it's definitely it makes sense to check back every now and then to see if they updated it.
Yeah, but here you're wanting to take that exponential smoothing. You often want to like take this and ramp it maybe.
Yeah.
And now you can. But the one thing I'll say about this doing the hidden input here is sometimes it's going to want the same thing that the editor always wants, which is have a delay node. So you know how the face mesh is like often not placed in the correct area and you have to do an offset? I would like to think of this delay node as sort of like an offset, but for a scalar signal that's not supposed to be there. Like this is a hidden output because they haven't finished or maybe even figured out how to make that input consistently work.
Yeah.
And a way to trick it to consistently work is to say, instead of having a linear value come in, you're instead giving the reactive code a millisecond basically to say, here is the value that's coming in. And this, duration of the delay is usually so minimal that it doesn't mess up the curve that you're trying to achieve. But it can. I mean, I'm not going to say that it works great because it doesn't. But if you need to use it, it is there. And, you have like Aaron, Exit Simulation is insanely talented. He uses it often. So I could see how it is useful. Yeah. You don't really want to be putting in raw rotation values like I am doing here. So you would be wanting to take those and give them some kind of smoothing so they're not, even though I like this, users will be like, what the fuck am I looking at? So they would want this to be smoothed before it was controlling the SDF values. You'd take that out and then pack it and put it in. Yeah. I don't know if I've do you want to talk about promises, or did we feel like we bored everyone to tears with SDFs?
Good question. I mean, I don't know. It's maybe something, guys, if you're watching, do you want to talk about promises? I just saw some people had to check out already. And so, I don't know, maybe, I mean, we can also, I think we did cover a lot of ground today. I'm curious, actually, whether it was maybe a bit too hardcore, actually. I mean, even though it is basic stuff, but oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a little bit hardcore just because it's you.
Well, no, but I mean, I don't know whether people are bored by that.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to. Yeah, what do people want? Just tell us.
They do want promises. Okay, fuck it. Let's do. I don't know if you can maybe do like in 10 minutes or something. Or,
yeah. I'll just do the simplest thing. Yeah. Really. Here, I'll save this.
Lasse, I do note. I suppose the question was for everyone also in the chat. I don't have any anything necessarily what I'm able to show in terms of cool projects. Unfortunately, to be honest,
I can't show anything on.
To be honest, I just got back into Spark. I had I don't know many. I think some people saw that I kind of got off Facebook again, like off any social media, and only this quarantine situation kind of made me even look into Twitch. I would have otherwise not done that, I suppose, and kind of get back into that. So this whole promises shit is new for me too.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with it a lot, which is hilarious that I'm talking about it now. And I think me struggling with it was more based off of reactive code than actual promises.
Right.
Because promises are pretty straightforward, and like this is a really great example that Lassie made.
Yeah.
That is of this old Spark AR project.
Mm-hmm.
That probably Davide made.
Well, I mean, can I maybe just I put that real quick just so I understand the whole premise a little bit better, because as I said earlier, my understanding is that promises are for asynchronous loading of things, but in Spark you don't have any asynchronous stuff loading, right?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways to look at it. I don't have Dan because I work for them. I have guesses, and I think there's some good guesses that I have of why it exists. The biggest one being that there are changes that we don't know about, and they're coming in the future, and they absolutely depend on these asynchronous things to happen. One thing that it does do that I think I like I understand how it's valuable, but I don't necessarily at this point value that change. But what it is doing is it's saying, instead of like searching the entire tree to find every damn object, you're instead saying, I want all of these objects at the very start, and then I want to work with all of those objects. And for me as a programmer, especially doing like machine learning where everything's like in these asynchronous environments working in different timings, it makes sense to want to organize it this way. And what it does is it forces you to think about and plan how you're going to do the entire code before you embark on it. So that's the give and take there. Is like, you can't be like to me a more classic like creative code approach is to just kind of like build stuff and break it as you go, and
Yeah.
you no longer can really do that.
I mean, this is exactly what I love about patches, actually, that a lot of times I don't even know what I'm doing, and I just start to just play around, and I end up with something I had never anticipated, and that's amazing. That's so much fun. And yeah, so this is why I do like patches.
Yeah, but the thing that you get back from that is your filter isn't going to like stutter or like try to find things in the scene with the users, because it knows exactly what it's working with at the very beginning. So, like, I wish can you see this? Can everyone see this?
I mean, I can see it. I'm not sure whether it shows up in the whether it,
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's how readable it is in the stream. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like guys,
Well,
if you can't read it, it works. Okay, so it's alright.
Okay. They can read it?
Yeah,
Want to read
they
it?
have to complain if they don't. Looks alright. Okay.
Okay. Well,
if you can't read it, be like,
Fuck off!
This is Sparta!
yes. But essentially what you're going to have is, instead of having the old pattern, which was you had the scene, you took the root, and then you found one object, and then you put in that object's name that you wanted to find.
yeah,
Pizzas 1, 2, 3. So now you're telling it to look through the scene hierarchy, which is scene, find that one object which is named this, and then that's it. You know, like that would be the end of it. Then you could say, now that one object exists in the scene, and you would say pizza, and you would translate it maybe to move it around. But now you can't do that. You have to say, everything that I want in the scene is going to go into this holding state, or be captured and collected. And I think captured and collected is a really great way to talk about promises, because it makes it really obvious what's happening, because you're telling the scene hierarchy to find the objects you want. This is a pattern of how to find it. So you're saying, find the first thing that's named this. And then after you found everything, you're putting it into an array, and you're calling that array a function name. And that function now has all the array assets in it, and those assets are ordered. So the first thing that you called is that. The second thing that you called is the pizzas 4, 2, 4, 5, 6. And so you're saying the first thing in the array, which is the 0 part of the array, I want to now be called pizza wheel 0. And those two concepts of collecting all of the things you want to work with, then putting them into an array, and giving that array a function, is essentially all you need to know to work with promises well in Spark AR. Like, just one kind of like hurdle is there's a function that is happening that is acting on all of the things that you collected in that first promise. So the promise takes in the objects, collects them so that they could asynchronously load into a function or several different functions. With when this gets useful is, say I had like several different kinds of functions that are doing all kinds of different things. And some of them are doing like general things, like there's a function that only does transforms and animates scene elements. I could now say, I want that function that animates to only animate at this point in time and then stop animating. So you get more interesting effects that are like more dynamic, things could change at different times, and you won't have that worry that it's going to like stutter and fail because it's trying to load the entire scene again. It's trying to collect all those elements again and put them back into the scene. Not that that was a huge problem before. Like, it's not big enough to like break all of the effects.
Yeah.
But that's like one of the things that they say is like, no, you could do this.
Right.
I'm trying to be positive about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, first of all, thanks so much
Bazinga!
for the explanation. But like, I'm just glad I can just work with patches and don't need to look into code too much. But anyway, I mean, I suppose it is what it is.
Yeah.
And maybe eventually we will figure out. I mean, we'll find out why they did that.
Yeah, I like people don't really understand how to use functions in coding, and I think that's like one of the biggest things that comes up as a beginner is like, here I have a function that is given a name and it's doing something, like it's iterating over these assets. And I think promises, like forcing everyone to use promises, is essentially saying, go back and learn that like essential part of programming, which is to like take things and act on them in a function.
Mm-hmm.
Which is harder to explain when it comes to the patch editor, but easier to see.
I just find it weird from a strategic point of view, because the way I understood Spark so far was that strategically the goal was to make a program which makes it super easy for everyone to build stuff in AR, and that comes with a drawback of it being very simple. Now, obviously Facebook wants to optimize for a lot of people making shit, because oh look, texture tools.
Hey.
Woo! Yay!
But that's why we have people like you that are making like cool fucking tools. The
thing is that it does. The cool thing about it, I think, it gamifies the experience to some extent, because it makes you want to kind of make it do things it's not supposed to do, and that's fun. But now I feel like it's like two tiers. That's the strategy a little bit. So you have patches, which is like the simple quote unquote way to use it, and scripts, which is, to me, feels more and more like they never had the idea of like normal people being able to use it that way. I mean, because even like the documentation is like it's horrible. I don't understand anything, right? Actually,
no. It felt like really, really unfair to people that were trying to work in scripts, and I like, obviously we don't know their plans. It could make a lot of sense in the future, but like at this point, it sucked.
So one question, a very concrete question I had is that is it now maybe possible? I think the answer is no, but Is there a way to look for wildcards? Like, so basically what I want is that if I just drag in a new object,
Yes.
is the answer
Yeah, no, that's the best part. Here, I'll
Oh,
show you.
okay.
That's like I think the find by pattern. So like one of the best parts of this asynchronous change is exactly what you just said. You have like a promise, not rejection event. And
Ooh, yeah, exactly. Ooh.
yeah, scene dot find by pattern. So the find by pattern is exactly what you're describing.
That
You
is
could
amazing.
use the
That's really
wild
cool.
card. You could say slash, and say you have like 20 planes,
Yeah,
and they all
exactly.
have different names.
Right,
You
exactly.
could say wild card, or slash wild card.
But
And
you
so
can,
like everything
but you,
comes after that.
but okay, that's amazing. That's really cool. But you can still
Mhm.
not populate stuff from script, or can you?
Yeah, you can't instantiate it.
Cannot
But
instantiate it, right?
yeah, you cannot.
Yeah.
But with this find by pattern shit, you could you could have it the find by pattern then feed into I was on writing it terribly. Have the find by pattern, um, and you could have it feed into, so you're giving it to an object. Um, when it feeds into this object constructor, that now we're getting way too hard for any, but you make it into a constructor class, and
Right.
once it's a constructor class, you could feed into a visibility
Yeah,
or
sure.
material opacity.
Well, but you know, I mean, what you
And
would want ideally is to be able to, from script, instantiate,
yep.
you know, I don't know, 100 boxes or whatever. And that way you would still
Mhm.
have to manually, well, I mean, no big deal. You can just go duplicate, tick, right? And then
Yeah.
just,
Mhm.
so it's a step forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, finding stuff now is so much easier.
Yeah.
It's like having a big scene in script was in the past much harder.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that might be the change that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Like the promise's true purpose could be to somehow finagle reactive code to instantiate shit.
Right. Yeah.
But that's like
I think it's just so
maybe a
funny. I remember
dream.
when I started with. Hey Jonas, thanks for the follow, and goodbye to all the people that had to go. Thanks for sticking around so long.
Yes,
I
thank
think
you.
it has been fun so far. Yeah, I did learn a lot of things, so that's really cool. That's actually, again, like this is actually why I wanted to do those. Why I wanted to try a stream, and let's see if people, you know, let's see what they say tomorrow. Maybe I'm gonna put up a little post again and see if they liked it or whatever, and maybe I'm gonna do another one. And
Yeah.
probably a lot more, like a lot less choreographed, a lot more raw, and things not working.
Yes.
Yeah. So because you know, I mean, today it was, I think everything was pretty much, you know, we were showing things we already knew how they work, but I kind of want to try shit I don't know how it works. But anyway, so I remember one of the first things I wanted to do in Spark, like way back, like 2 years ago, or, you know, I don't know when that was physics. And then the problem with reactive was always that you can't do basically ticks. You're not supposed to do a callback every whatever 100 millisecond, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, you know, how do I do it? Well, basically, you can't really do that. And now their own implementation of this JavaScript physics thing, what was it again?
Mm-hmm.
What
The
did they use?
canon.
Canon. They use the same. They do it themselves, even though they say you should not do that. It's a little bit like with the illegal inputs, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like it's funny because they briefly built that and then JS example from the original Canon JS example, and just like you were doing a little bit before, I think they took they just looked at it and then were like, how can this be translated into reactive code?
Yeah.
And they just did it line for line. But there's a different way to do that. The tick could just be snapshots, and then it would technically be reactive code, like it would be legit. But yeah, it was funny that they did that. I saw your comment on that. It's definitely made me laugh.
Anyway, all right. I don't know. I think so far so good, right? Do you want to do? Cool.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was cool. I got to talk about some SDF stuff.
Yeah. I think it was fun. I had fun. I think turnout was pretty decent, like for first stream. I hope people had fun too. And Nolan, thanks again for joining in. Actually, I had the other idea. I think it could also be cool to do a mini competition, right? Where you say, hey, we have 2 hours or maybe 3 hours stream, and then you have a theme, and then I don't know, maybe you have, maybe a bunch of files you give out at the beginning of the stream, and then spark off, exactly, and then people have 2 hours to build chat, and then you look at it in the stream, and then the chat can vote who wins or something. And maybe they get a hoodie.
Yeah, or a shirt.
Exactly.
You can get a shirt or a hoodie. Oh wait.
I don't know. We have to ask.
I probably have a fucking notebook in here too.
Oh, a notebook. Yes, Sparkle. Yeah. I don't have that.
I have a notebook somewhere.
But Facebook would have to give that to us. They're welcome to become stream sponsors. Oh, I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works. Maybe Julian can fill me in on how the streaming game is played. Maybe I catch up with him and we see. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining in. That was fun. I mean, it kind of worked okay. Like we had 1.2 technical glitches. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
For first stream.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
And thanks for everyone for listening.
Cool.
It was great.
All right. Well then, goodbye, NOLAND.
Goodbye.
Yeah, bye everyone. That was it. Like the first what did I call it? Sparky Sunday. And we see. Like if you liked it, maybe we do it again. Alrighty, right. Take care, guys. Bye bye.